Good evening and welcome to the January 27th meeting of the Town Council. I apologize for the few-minute delay. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd also like to use this time to take a moment and ask that we remember Adam Manzares, who recently passed. I know a lot of you probably know Adam. Many of you who served the town certainly knew Adam, as well as his wife, Jean, who was another amazing, wonderful person. But Adam started as the assistant town attorney for Wallingford back in 1974, and then somewhere around 1988 he became town attorney. In 1990 he became the first full-time corporation counsel when the law department was rearranged a little bit, and he retired in 2011. So I'm not going to try to do the math, but that's a long time. But if you knew Adam, you knew Adam was just a really good guy. He had a great personality. He was kind. He was helpful. I know when I first got involved many years ago, I interacted with him periodically, and he was always there to just help. And he just had one of those personalities that you know, everybody likes. And at the same time, he was a tremendously gifted attorney and totally devoted to the town. So we're a better community for his service, as well as that of his wife who had passed before him. So I just wanted to at least mention Adam, give my sympathies to his family, and ask that we just take a couple of moments of remembrance of him in any way you'd like. Thank you. You have it up there now. I'll now ask the town clerk to take the roll.
Allenson.
Here.
Carmody.
Here.
Fishbein. Laffin.
Here.
Rivard.
Here.
Reynolds.
Here.
Versace.
Here.
Tata.
Here.
Testa.
Hey.
Are you here? Stay here.
Here. I'm having a hell of a time. I mean, excuse me. I'm having a bear of a time with my iPad. Anyway, okay, is there a motion on the consent agenda, please?
I move to approve and accept the consent agenda items 3A through 3N as corrected.
Mr. Chairman,
Second.
I just need to abstain from 3H, but otherwise I'm okay.
Everybody else good? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
3H.
Okay. Consent agenda passes with that one exception. Vote. Yeah. So we have appointed, where'd he go? David Leonardo. No, we didn't appoint him yet. Oh, there it is down at the bottom, my mistake. We made several appointments tonight. We appointed Amelia Mena-Erdman to Board of Assessment Appeals, Leslie Williams as an alternate to the Historic Properties Commission, David Leonardo to a full position on the Planning and Zoning Commission for a term of 5 years, Bob Gross to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term of 5 years, and Chris LaRocque as an alternate to the Zoning Board of Appeals for a term of 3 years. Any and all who are here this evening, would please come forward to be sworn in. Go right over there, David, thank you.
You want to raise your hand? Do you solemnly swear to faithfully discharge according to law your duties as member of Planning and Zoning Commission of the Town of Wallingford to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations. Nice to see you. Good place for him. Very nice. Thank you very much. And now, let's move on. I don't understand what's going on here. I know. There were no items removed from the consent agenda. We'll move to the public question and answer period. Are there any questions or comments anyone would like to make to the council, please? Remember, keep your comments and questions to matters that have to do with the operation of the community, but aren't agenda items that will be discussed later. You'll have an opportunity at that time to weigh in on those. Anybody wish to come up to the microphone? Okay. If you all look under your seats, you're going to have a key to a new car. Thank you for that. All right. Now it's the discussion of some old business. Can we, I just wanted to get an update on the progress of community pool, because it's been going so well, and I know Mr. Michaels has been putting things online, but I thought just a quick update on where we are from the mayor would be helpful.
Mr.
Sir?
Chairman, so if you've been following along, you know that what had been the existing park has been demolished completely, and quite a bit of construction has occurred until recently. I know they poured the foundation for one of the locker facilities, and the mild season allowed them to continue working on what is referred to as the Gabion Wall, which is it's a erosion limiting feature along with allowing proper drainage. So site work has continued as well as it could into the season. Things are coming along quite nicely.
Thank you very much. Also, if you would be so kind, can we just get a little update on anything that may have happened or is happening regarding contact with the contractor of the Doolittle Park basketball courts? I know you gave us an update, but there was some interest here in seeing where we are now.
So the condition that was in the photograph that was given to us has not been obvious. My information was that what the photograph showed like an expansion joint, and last winter it may have expanded, and it's since contracted. In other words, it's where it should be. If we can observe the condition again, we'll certainly reach out to the contractor so that they can come and determine how properly to deal with it. But it's my understanding that a benefit of post-tension concrete is that it can be caused to heave, and because of the tension of the structure, if it was ice, when the ice and moisture drains away, that it will go back to where it's supposed to be. And we will also be looking at that joint to see if there's some type of compound that needs to be maintained in it.
Now, you can't tell me you're not excited that you became an expert on post-tension concrete.
Knowledge that I will take to the grave.
I know.
Great pleasure.
I'm going to be going with the, making lemonade as often as possible. Thank you, sir. That's that. I want to remind everybody, again, on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Planning Department, that the Plan of Conservation Development is going on right now, the development of the new one, and there's a survey out that they would love everyone to have an opportunity to weigh in any way you wish. It's an easy link to find. It's Wallingford2036.com. Just remember, it's a 10-year plan, Wallingford2036.com. I'd ask you to go down and hit the link down at the bottom, but it's not my YouTube page. Don't forget to subscribe. So I think that's it for the updates. Now we have item 7. Mr. Vice Chairman.
Item 7 is a discussion and possible action regarding the proposed fixed tax agreement for the affordable housing development by Honeycomb Real Estate Partners at 55 Kendracky Lane, as requested by the Economic Development Commission.
Thank you. So I would expect representatives of Honeycomb as well as the EDC to come forward, find a place to be able to talk to us. And I want to thank you for printing a hard copy of that proposal, the revised proposal. I just couldn't seem to do it on my own printer because I think it was just too big. And I really like to have hard copies to look at and make notes on when I have the opportunity. So everybody should have received one. Now, was this just to be convenient, or they're the same thing, right?
Yes, same thing as what's on the screen.
Well, perhaps I have what I need. Perhaps someone could bring these extra ones down to the corner. Oh, never mind, it's going to be on the screen. Ignore me. Or anybody in the audience that can't see the screen, you're welcome to look at this copy right here. Okay, I assume there's a presentation. We're all ears.
Yes, there is. Thank you, Mr.
Identify yourselves, names.
No problem. Steve Caprio with Honeycomb Real Estate Partners.
Kurt Montagno with Montagno Construction.
Nick Lombardi, EDC. Austin McEnany, EDC.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the Town Council, and town staff for the opportunity to be here this evening and for the guidance and collaboration you and your department have already provided on this project. We sincerely appreciate the time that Planning and Zoning, Economic and Community Development, and your professional staff have invested with us over the past 9 months. My name is Steve Caprio, and I'm here on behalf of Honeycomb Real Estate Partners in partnership with Kurt Montagno and Montagno Construction to discuss the proposed redevelopment of the former Quinnipiac Valley Center skilled nursing facility at 55 Kendracky Lane. Our goal is to transform this long vacant, blighted building into 66 units of 100% affordable housing through an adaptive reuse of the existing 69,000 square foot structure. This development is designed to serve households at or below 60% of area median income, with a mix of studios, 1-bedroom, and 2 bedrooms that align with the needs identified in Wallingford's 2022 Affordable Housing Plan, especially the need for smaller, accessible units. As you know, Wallingford's current affordable housing inventory stands at approximately 4.37%, below the state's 10% target, and this project will be an important step towards closing that gap. The property already benefits from a prior site plan approval for a 71-unit market rate conversion, and our 66-unit affordable configuration fits within that existing approval. That prior work and the strong municipal support we have experienced to date mean this is a near shovel-ready opportunity to deliver high-quality, energy-efficient, affordable housing in the near term. We are pursuing a capital stack that includes a first mortgage, Connecticut Department of Housing second mortgage, LIHTC investor equity, and developer equity, with an invitation to apply already issued through DOH's development engagement process. For these state and investor commitments to move forward, the project must demonstrate long-term financial stability under the rent and income restrictions that will be in place for at least 40 years. That is why we are here tonight. We are respectfully requesting approval of a local fixed tax assessment for 55 Kendracky Lane. The proposed fixed assessment would be set at $3.3 million for a length of 18 years, with annual yearly taxes continuing to be calculated with the town's adopted mill rate. This is not a request to freeze the tax bill, but rather to provide predictability in the assessed value so that our lenders, the state, and our institutional investors can underwrite the property with confidence. Without this tax fixing agreement, the combination of restricted rents, long-term affordability covenants, and rising operational costs would jeopardize the project's feasibility and make it very difficult to secure the necessary DOH funding and tax credit funding. With the agreement in place, the town will see a substantial increase in taxes over the current level, long-term improvements of a problem property, and the creation of desperately needed affordable homes for Wallingford's workforce, seniors, and residents on fixed incomes. In the slides that follow, we will walk through the development plan, the unit mix and rents, the projected tax revenues with and without the fixed assessment, and examples of similar agreements we have successfully implemented in other Connecticut communities. We hope to demonstrate that this proposal is fiscally responsible, consistent with state and local housing priorities, and a meaningful investment in Wallingford's future. Thank you again to the mayor, the council, and town staff for your consideration and for partnership to date. We look forward to your questions and the opportunity to work together to bring 55 Kendracky Lane back to a productive use to benefit the town of Wallingford. Before we kick into the presentation, Kurt Montagno, our partner on the deal and also general contractor, will be, just want to give a brief intro.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. I'm here as a member of the development team and also as the general contractor for the project. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold, so excuse my voice. Between Honeycomb Real Estate Partners and Montagno Construction, we bring decades of development and construction experience in the multifamily marketplace. For over 40 years, my company has built thousands of units of apartments, both affordable and market rate, in addition to many assisted living and skilled nursing facilities throughout the state of Connecticut. This particular project piqued our interest as we had performed many projects there when it was the Brook Hollow Health and Rehabilitation Center. To be part of the building's redevelopment into affordable homes for people here in Wallingford would be a great accomplishment for us and will enhance the neighborhood and put a blighted building back on the tax rolls. I'm sorry. What part did we miss? Okay, good. That was about it, so thank you. I'm going to turn it back over to Steve.
All right. So a bunch of this has been stated already from the narrative screen, but I just wanted to point out a few key things about this development before moving forward. We will be generating 66 units of 100% affordable housing. It'll be at 50 and 60% AMI. This project was previously approved, so as far as site plan approval, that's been achieved, and we are basically shovel ready. Estimating from application into CHFA to opening the building about 16 to 18 months' time. This is 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and studio units, all of them below 60% AMI. And, just that with this pipeline readiness, DOH, they've already submitted our invitation to apply, which means that we're allowed to submit our consolidated application. So we really see it as a fast-track project. I wanted to briefly discuss the capital stack that we have on this project. You'll see our first mortgage, that's traditional mortgage. The second is a DOH second mortgage. This is very outsized. It just shows DOH's commitment to this project and commitment to helping Wallingford deliver affordable housing. You also have what's labeled as investor equity. That is equity that comes from an institutional investor that purchases the tax credits generated by a 4% tax credit deal, which this would be. And then developer equity, that is from the development team themselves. I think it's worth noting that in this scenario, this is 100% affordable. If it wasn't, let's say it was 50% affordable and 50% market rate, you would not only lose investor equity because you'd be generating less tax credits, but DOH would also not fulfill the $11.95 million that they've committed to this project. So losing sources in both those two areas, you would not pick up the loan sizing from market rate units to make this deal feasible. It would require a much more substantial break on taxes, and it would really need the rates to drop in the market. On the screen and in your images in front of you, you'll see kind of the before and after shot of what this building is going to be transformed into. It's really a solid building, and we think that the upgrades that we're doing on the interior are going to deliver a product that the town will be proud of and that individuals will be racing to lease up units. The unit mix themselves, there are 10 studios, 2 at 50% AMI, 8 at 60. You have 48 one-bedroom apartments, 10 at 50% AMI, 38 at 60% AMI, and then 2-bedroom units are just 8, 2 of them at 50% AMI, and 6 at 60%. I'd like to just draw attention to some of these rents here. For a studio at a 50%, it's only $991 per month. That includes utilities. Utilities are something that ownership does need to provide to the residents, which is why our expenses are so high on this project. So for $991, that is all inclusive for the resident living there, and same with all of the rent levels. The highest cost to live here would be a 2-bedroom at 60%, which is only $1,528, and that includes utilities. Yes, sir.
Could you just clarify for, when you say AMI? No, sorry, I mean median income, is it adjusted? What is it?
Yep, so area median income. Let me go to the next slide, actually.
Area, thank you.
Yes.
That was the one I was trying to remember.
Dive into more detail, but thank you for the question.
What is the area median income for Wallingford?
Yep, so area median income for Wallingford, I'm gonna get it wrong, it's a little over $100,000 for a family of four. State average is around 121. New Haven is a little below that. This would be the New Haven MSA. This next slide was actually developed by Centers for Housing Opportunity in Wallingford. It's a great slide. We were thankful to get it, so we wanted to utilize it to show you all where these income levels fell and what type of residents would be possibly applying to live at this development. So these AMIs, 60%, that's $55,468 in salary to a single adult. Here in Wallingford, that's a first-year teacher. You know, how nice would it be for an individual to be able to live a half mile from the middle and elementary school or a mile from high school, have a short commute, possibly walk, ride their bike, and be able to live in a quality apartment and, you know, really save money on rent and be able to live in the community that they work in. An interesting thing about this program, the LIHTC program, it allows individuals to earn up to 140% of what they originally qualify at, meaning that if that first-year teacher applies for an apartment, moves in, and is making, let's say, $55,000, but they get a raise the next year because we all know they're on a sliding scale, they do not lose their apartment. They're allowed to stay at that rent level in that apartment until they reach 140% of AMI. So it's allowing people to build wealth, and they don't have to worry that they're going to lose their homes or have to pay exorbitant rents because they're doing better. It actually allows them to save money, you know, with most people's goal to move out or to, you know, purchase a home. So it allows individuals to grow within the units, which we think is great. And a 50% unit, 50% earner would be someone possibly an administrative assistant or customer service rep here in Wallingford. Also should point out maximum Social Security retirement benefit of $48,000. That individual on a fixed Social Security income, possibly looking to downsize out of their house, could downsize, move into these apartments, and live comfortably. This next slide, this is the assessor's computations that were generated by the Wallingford Assessor's Office. Wanted to illustrate to the council what our property taxes would be based on the rents, which are set by the state, and our expense profile, which is very consistent with other affordable properties in the area, including the fact that we need to provide utilities. The calculation right now would give an assessed value of $3.2 million, and property taxes would be $77,185 for the year, which comes out to $1,169 per apartment. That is based on the value approach from the assessor's office. Moving ahead to our proposal, we are proposing a fixed assessment for 18 years. We're proposing that assessed value be at $3.3 million, which is going to generate $79,596 in taxes based on today's mill rate. This would adjust if the mill rate goes up. Our assessed value stays the same, but we obviously will pay more in taxes that year. Currently, the property is only paying $51,000 in taxes as it currently sits. You know, you would have to, one, this is a nice increase to that, delivering affordable housing, but also you'd have to consider if the property stayed as is, that you would assume the assessed value would go down over the years, or it would eventually be torn down and it would be taxed as land. So a great use to reuse the building, deliver affordable housing that's very much needed, and also increase the tax rolls. And on the far right, you'll see that at the current assessed value based on the assessor's office with our 2025 rents, we'd only be paying $1,169 per unit, or $77,000 for the year. So we're starting our assessed value higher. The reason behind the 18 years, tax credit deals have a compliance period that is 15 years long. That is how long your tax credit investor is in the deal. That's how long the deal has to essentially pencil out for. The reason for asking for 18 is after 15 years, you don't want to see one of these properties fall off a cliff because of real estate taxes. At 15 years, you've built up a pretty good reserve base, so in a scenario where you had it for 15 years and the taxes go up, you might have to blow a bunch of your reserves to keep the property solvent and to not default on your mortgage, where you need to keep a certain debt service coverage ratio. You'd really like that 18-year period to figure out, once compliance is over, what the next step is in the life cycle. There's several options at that point. You could look to re-syndicate the deal, which means you redevelop it with new tax credits, bring in new fresh equity, renovate the building. You could also look at a refinance option where you can use some of your reserves over the years to rehab the building. These stay affordable for 40 years. There's a lure put on the property. So you need to make sure these buildings last, and you want to deliver high-quality, affordable housing for a very long period of time. So these fixed assessments help you do that. They help you maintain the building. They help you make sure that this remains a great complex for a very long period of time and allows the life cycle to continue on these and to do something after that 15-year compliance period. So that's the reason for the 18-year ask. Prior to about a year and a half ago, there was a max of 12 years. The states extended that to up to 30 years for a fixed tax assessment. The reason being is that most tax credit investors were not happy with 12. They really needed it to be over 15. And also deals just weren't penciling because they have to underwrite to how long that assessment takes. So at 12 years, there were still 40 years of affordability, and it just wasn't making people comfortable enough. So the state addressed that by modifying the fixed assessment in legislature. And the final thing I wanted to get into was other tax deals that we've had with other communities. The first project, the Monarch in New Haven, this is open. It took 30 days to lease up. It is the majority 50 and 60% AMI with 3 80% units. The city of New Haven, they have a pilot program, so they've addressed this within their own bylaws in New Haven, and we were given a $450 a unit tax pilot for the property in order to make that deal feasible. In West Hartford, we delivered the Camelot apartment. It's 44 affordable apartments. It's been open for about 10 months now, also fully leased within 30 days of opening. In this scenario, the town gave us the max they could back in 2024, which was 12 years at $1,048 per unit with an assessed value of $1 million on the property. That was a great partnership. They also, along with the tax abatement, the town of West Hartford had given us $3 million of ARPA funding as well to make that building a reality. And the final project, which is a little bit different, is Enfield. This is currently in development. We're going through our financing right now. This is a 156-unit market rate development. There are 20% of the units set at workforce housing at 80% AMI. But the town of Enfield gave us an extended tax fixing agreement. It starts out at $568 per apartment, and that is a market rate deal. You may ask yourself why it was such a steep kind of assessed value on market rate deal. It's because in that scenario, it was even harder to make a market rate deal work. You lose out, there's no DOH funding, there's no tax credits coming in. But the town saw it as an opportunity. It's based in Thompsonville. They saw it as a chance to really bring up that area and deliver something that the town was missing. So they felt it was more of an investment and felt that overall it would be a benefit to the community to get that built. It's right across from the new train station that's planned. So they've agreed with the vision that, we can bring that to Thompsonville. It's really going to help in the long run. So they're willing to enter into a tax fixing agreement with us. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Nick.
Excuse me 1 minute, I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt one more time.
Yes, sir, no problem.
Everyone else gets to go first, but I do want to make sure we have understanding of some of the numbers you provided that we're looking at. Just when you go back to the salaries on page 5, I should make sure I'm on the right page.
Yes.
No pun intended. You said area median income for a family of 4 is 100,000.
It's over 100,000.
Over 100, so.
But 113,200.
All right, 116.2, that's fine. Now, that's a family of 4. Then your slide here, though, you're talking about a single adult. So I just want to make sure I know what the number is. You wrote 80%, the top row, then 63,392. Is 63,392 what that person's salary is?
That is the top salary that can qualify.
Okay, but is that 80% of the AMI for a single adult?
That on this slide is, yes.
Which is what? I mean, I could do the math. Divide that by 0.8 and you get it?
79,240.
Great. It just helps.
No problem.
So, I mean, the more we make sure these numbers are clear, the more the public can understand, you know,
100%.
who this is for, how it could benefit, if it can benefit the community. So we work our way down, and then I could say, okay, fine. So 70% of the 79,240 would be the 57,544. So that's what we're working on. So 79,240 is considered the area median income for a single adult in Wallingford.
Yes.
And then when you pointed out, you know, the different numbers of units, you were saying these units would be available to people at the 50%, and these are for people at the 60%. That's what you were referring to in that chart of unit mix and rents.
Yes, but I do want to caveat, for the two-bedroom unit, they would base that on 2 individuals living there, so the salaries could actually go up from there.
Right. So you are considering the income of the household.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to clarify that. I appreciate, I apologize for butting in, but now the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you. As mentioned previously, my name is Nick Lombardi. I serve on the Economic Development Commission, and when the developers approached us, I offered to participate in the due diligence of this project, specifically because of my background as it relates to the town. So many of you here know, but I spent the last 10 years on the Wallingford Housing Authority, working alongside the former executive director, Kelly McDermott, on what we would consider a transformation of the authority. And we're not here to talk about the authority tonight, but we're here to talk about what it means to own and operate public housing here in Wallingford, which I have a very intimate understanding of. Our portfolio here in Wallingford consists of state public housing, federal public housing, tax credit properties, and we see a lot of the same challenges over and over again, whether that's for accessibility, whether it's deferred maintenance, whether it's making reasonable accommodations for handicapped individuals. So these are the challenges that we faced every day. I learned how projects are financed and how they remain sustainable through rent stratification, capital funding, and support from the municipality here in Wallingford, which is a pilot. As said previously, there is a need for housing in Wallingford, specifically affordable. So for us, and Austin will speak, I won't speak on his behalf, but we explored, you know, what's the best use of this property? Is it market rate housing? Is it affordable housing? We've seen an explosion of market rate housing in Wallingford and the surrounding towns. At the state level, we're being encouraged for public-private partnerships to achieve our goals. And we believe, based on our homework and due diligence, and the reason that I'm here tonight is to explain that I believe that affordable is something that the town needs and should see more of. One statistic that wasn't shared yet is that 30% of working families in Wallingford struggle to afford the basic cost of living here in town. So I think that's something to be noted. We're excited about this project. I also want to know that it's 100% affordable, as opposed to other presentations that you might see that might have a small amount of affordability or a 50-50 split. That's a huge difference in what makes this project attractive, at least to the EDC. We've talked about qualified applicants, entry-level positions, and teachers, police officers, dental hygienists, working-class people who I believe we should welcome into our town. Specifically talking about 55 Caneschi, decommissioned property that's been sitting vacant for a long period of time. We would love nothing more than to see that come back to life. We've done our due diligence. We've spoken to other towns, not only as it relates to the developer, but other towns that have done other tax abatement projects like this one. And what we found was that the town of Wallingford, from our perspective, it's common for the municipality to, as a strategy, to participate in a predictable tax deal that benefits the town residents and the developer. So I'm here to answer any questions and to offer my support, but we really look at this as something that the town could benefit from. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Austin. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Austin McEnany. A little bit like Nick, I just want to kind of explain to you or demonstrate my connection to the town. I think it's important. You know, we have a lot of new members on the EDC. Some of you guys I've spoken with, some of you I know, but a lot of you I don't. So I'll keep this brief. I've been in the town my whole life. I delivered papers for the Record Journal. I worked for 10 years in Masonic up the hill at Asher Village, you know, in the kitchen, maintenance, shoveling snow, that kind of stuff. I'm now a CPA. I have an office downtown. I got 2 kids in the school system. I love the town, you know, so I approach this from anything that I end up encountering in this. I approach it from a position of deep care for the community. And also as a CPA, I'm kind of like a professional skeptic. So, you know, if you tell me something that's good, but I don't believe you unless I can verify that. So just to give you an idea of the process, I mean, we began speaking with them in March or April of last year. It was a lot of back and forth. You know, it was, hey, here's the numbers, here's what the state says they require. And then on our side, we go to the state literature to verify that it is accurate. They opened up their entire underwriting model, have been very transparent, answered all of our questions, even the hard ones. You know, where did you get this number from? All those kinds of things. We've been through all that process. And for me professionally, I needed to have there was a level of assurance I needed to be able to come before you guys and say, I feel comfortable recommending this project. So that's where we're here now. I just wanted to give you that, you know, brief background on that. Now you could look at this, I think, you know, some common sentiment is this is a tax break, it's a subsidy. That's inaccurate, in my opinion. Markets love predictability, right? And from a lending perspective, I forgot to mention too, I've also done a lot of work in securing the financing for commercial properties, doing the due diligence, the underwriting. I understand how to manipulate a spreadsheet if you want to, you know what I mean? So we've been through, digging through all that. You know, one common idea, I think, is other residents in Wallingford are paying for this, and that's not the case. I mean, if you look at the tax revenue from this building over the last few years, I think from 2023 to 2024, it was a 16% decrease. It's going to keep going down, you know, so you can say, well, we'll make this market rate and the assessed value is going to be higher. It's only going to increase tax revenue, but not by an amount that really moves the needle. We don't need market rate housing in Wallingford. We have it. We need affordable housing. You know, we need places where people that want to downsize and sell their house but don't want to leave the town can go to, you know, and that opens up a starter home possibly for a new family moving in. So we really look at this not just in a vacuum, but as an overall, you know, element that's needed in Wallingford that's going to be beneficial to the community and provide a predictable tax revenue stream that works for the developers and the town. Thank you.
So with that, if there's any questions, we would love to answer them.
Okay, anybody, Councilor Laffin, you get first shot.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, gentlemen. Correct me if I'm wrong, so I did a little research too, and I was wondering if you could explain some of the differences between some of these other abatement deals you've made with the other cities. So New Haven, 15 years, West Hartford, 10 years, Enfield, 12 and a half years. And that's still, so that's recent, right? That's the most recent, that's still in development.
Enfield is the most recent, yes.
So what makes 15, 10, and 12 and a half years work for those deals versus your ask for 18? Is that like come in high and see what you negotiate, or like explain if there's math behind this, if this is black and white?
Definitely.
Thank you.
100%. I'll start with Enfield. Enfield was a market rate deal. In that scenario, that is all we needed to make the deal pencil. It was that initial 12 and a half years. We worked closely with the town on that, and we opened our books to that as well and showed them exactly what we needed to make the deal feasible. It was also a market rate deal, so a different scenario at the end game. The first two, though, much more similar comps. In New Haven, they're at that point, and I don't know if it's changed, their program was set up for 15 years. 15 years is the end of the tax credit compliance period. So in the majority of cases, that's what makes tax credit investors, CHFA, and lenders the most comfortable with the deal, because they know that that fixed assessment is through the entire compliance period. Yes, they would like it to be longer, but that was good enough. And at the time, there wasn't the ability through legislature here to get over 15 years, to my knowledge. There may have been some towns that had adopted something, but on a global scale. And in New Haven, they had set that policy. It was a New Haven policy because through the state, it was 12 years max. West Hartford, it was either 10 or 12. So West Hartford, similar situation. It was either 10 or 12 years max at the time from the state. We were able to get our lender comfortable with that. They took a risk on the fact that it was West Hartford, and they thought that the market outlook was good. And the other thing that was interesting there, I don't have it in writing, but the town was very agreeable to reevaluate after the 10 years was up. They said at the time they were working on a pilot program that we would be eligible to apply for in 10 years. That was what was communicated at the time. We communicated that to PNC, who was our institutional investor, and they were okay with the 10 years. So 18 years here. The reason being is that gives us that extra 3 years to figure out what happens after the compliance period. It makes that transition, that ability to either move into a new tax credit deal, to refinance, or to use money from the reserves to renovate and not have issues as taxes go up. So that's why the ask is at 18.
Okay. All right. So, no, thank you for that explanation. The market rate in Wallingford is definitely high, and our recent reevaluation showed us some of the consequences that go with that. If you're moving within Wallingford, it's kind of relative, but I think what opportunity this provides, as was mentioned, that this could be an opportunity for starters or new people to come into Wallingford, and for some of our current residents to downsize appropriately into something that might be more affordable given retirement, empty nest, all that kind of stuff. I feel like we need to do something to balance the playing field of where the market is, and we're not necessarily interfering with the market. This is kind of a different avenue. So I'm on board with that. I just had some questions about the time frame. Like I said, this does bring us closer to our state goal. Whether we love or agree with that or not, it exists. Compliance with that. So that's another bonus. And the 100% affordability, I think, is a big deal. We've run into some problems with other developers in my 14 years here, where they go in and then they can't rent the last unit or two, and it's supposed to be affordable, and they're not doing it. And whether they can't do it or they're not doing it, it starts a whole different ballgame. And this kind of makes it very clear cut. So, okay. If I have any other questions, I'm sure it'll come up while people are asking. Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I add, Steve? I don't know if you mentioned this, but this was information to me that I didn't know prior. Is they need to go through an audit every year, which is a big extra expense. So it's not, like an independent party is picking through what they're doing and verifying that they're doing what they said they were going to do. Do I have that right?
That's correct. Yeah, we have to supply an audit every year.
And I'm sure that information would be made available to the county, because one of the things you would be concerned about is that issue is, are these actually being rented at the rates we agreed on? So I just wanted to
so we have to, every single person has to be income qualified, and those get sent into the state as well as a tax credit investor, because a violation in compliance is a very big deal, and there's tax credit recapture, which is a severe penalty, and it also is, this is our business, affordable housing. It's not good for a company to do that.
Councilor Rivard.
Good evening, guys. Thank you for your presentation, and greatly appreciate, Austin, your comments. I I came to this with skepticism also, not because, actually, most people know I'm one of the most vocal advocates for the need for affordable in Wallingford, but this is kind of number one, it's a unique situation, I think, where this thing was originally approved for market rate back in 2023 when, unfortunately the facility there had to close down for several reasons we could go back into. And, then because that was pre-approved, you guys went and said, hey, we're going to go do 66 affordable units. So I don't think that's been back through the P&Z, and I think that has been worked with Kevin Pagini and others. I would just maybe ask you guys as part of this, if this were to be approved here, what we want to make sure we do is go back and make sure any affordable units get into the affordability plan so that they get credit towards the 2% possible moratorium on 830G in the event that Wallingford gets close to that. A lot of people don't realize that 830G, if you make concerted progress towards affordable unit counts. I think in Wallingford, it ends up you'd need to hit like a 300 to 350 unit to make a case to the state. You can have a temporary moratorium on developers coming in and forcing you to put affordable units in zones that maybe it doesn't fit within your town plan of operations. The other reason that my thinking is skeptical, and I appreciate you guys, your intro hit almost every one of my questions I pre-submitted and spoke with the EDC about, so obviously you guys discussed, is I think because this is unique and we're moving forward, I think a first for a potential, it's more of a tax fix, assessment fixing. It's not really avoidance of taxes, let's be honest. This is kind of controlling the assessment value to make it level loaded. But it is a first for us, I think. No one's been able to quote another situation like this for these units. And when we do that, we owe the public healthy skepticism to assure that the objectives we're trying to achieve are met. So to my questions after that, what's the ability, if this were to occur, to focus the people who first get a chance to move into these units towards actual, Wallingford residents or people who are or will be employed in Wallingford? I know in other towns I've heard that there have been you open up the application process early towards residents and things like that, but I'd be interested in what the possibilities are because we're trying to affect certain things. You guys alluded to it. You've obviously talked to us in the town is, downsizing for retirees and seniors who want to stay in town but can't afford to downsize and then open up that housing stock. And then the other piece is teachers. I mean, I love this chart. It shows that, our first year teachers are about half of, the AMI for the town. That means you can't live in town really. Let's be honest, right? So what's the possibility of setting up an application process that you guys have a lot of experience, that could provide that preference?
So I'm probably not going to give the best answer on this. We do have to comply with all fair housing, which this exact question's been asked before, and I've received two separate answers, the opposites, from different property management companies. One said it violates fair housing to put that in your plan, your selection plan, to do a local preference. Others have said it didn't. What I can promise is that we will look into it. And if a local preference, that's something we'd definitely consider, or a local employment preference, we just have to make sure no matter what we don't violate fair housing. But even if we can't put the preference, the way we normally run it is we have our website up way prior to when we would open units, and we will have a date set on there that says applications open this date. Someone can go on, they can put, it's a small deposit down and submit. They have to, like a normal residence, go through background check, credit check, all the standard things that you do to get an apartment. So we will make that information well known on the website, and if the town wanted to facilitate sending that information out, the town could definitely do that. We just have to make sure we don't violate fair housing.
Okay, understood. Yeah, the reason I asked point blank is because I've seen mixed responses just in my own research, which is kind of odd. But nonetheless, The other question, obviously, that, taxpayers, and you commented on it, folks feel like this is an unfair give to somebody, and then we're going to have to pick up the bill because we're reduced rates. I think the numbers are clear because I looked at them. We're going to certainly we'll be gaining more revenue than we otherwise would have today. And I also challenge, the EDC, what if we were able to go get, market rate apartments built? Where does that land us? I would say that it should be healthy skepticism with that because that was already approved in 2023 and there was never financing made available that actually got that off the ground. I can't speak to why that all changed. That's the property owner, but you guys have put out a bid and they're, biting on that because of this. And I think you commented on the credit structure. At best, I think, if you were to get back up to that 71 units, we're talking about, 100, 120, and that's just rough numbers, K per year, and that's not a huge increase over what would be offered here. It is an increase, right, because certainly it's market rate versus affordable. I guess my last question to you guys, and then I'm interested in the other comments and questions from the council is, what % of market rate would be needed for you guys to do this deal and self-fund it, or is that not even it wouldn't pass muster and you'd have to move on to some other opportunity?
Yeah, if this had market rate in it, pretty much at all, but if it was market rate and you went full market rate, we do have market rate projects. We would not be able to underwrite this. The returns would not attract any additional capital, just with where markets are at right now.
Yeah, and you don't see a 70-30 split that would entice you either. Because we do have, I think, 2 or 3 other projects that have the benefit of having been on the P&Z in town that were self-funded, 70-30, 60-40 type split, but you're thinking this particular property, that wouldn't go for you.
No, it wouldn't work, and we would lose DOH funding and tax credit funding, so the amount of equity that would have to be put back in would not make sense for an investor.
Understood. Thank you.
Councilor Tata.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening.
Evening.
So, I guess I'll just be blunt. So how much are you going to make on this? Because if you're asking taxpayers to kick in some of this, it's a business venture, obviously. So is it fair to ask how much you'll be making so we can know if that's fair to the constituents that they're kicking in anything?
I guess exact figures on what we would be bringing in.
Like per month, for example.
So cash flow on a yearly basis right now, where it's based, it's $50,000.
15,000.
50,000
per year.
on the year is what the cash flow shows. You need a 1.15 debt service coverage ratio. So it's less than $1,000 a unit that you're making.
And that's your net. That's your net income.
Yeah, that is cash income. So, give you an example, if utilities went crazy, you could very quickly not meet your debt service coverage ratio and be in default.
Okay, thank you for providing that. I appreciate. I think it just makes sense for everyone to know the figures. So I appreciate that. Excuse me. So just to address a couple of things that were brought up tonight, predictability came up a lot, and that's why you need this for tax predictability. And another counselor talked about predictability. Last year we had one of, if not the largest tax increases in Wallingford on the residential side because of revaluation that we've ever seen. And there was no predictability for our constituents on the residential side. And so the predictability argument, I understand from a business perspective, but we weren't able to give that to our constituents on the residential side last year. So I just, personally, it kind of makes me uneasy that we would provide it to a business and not to our own constituents. And then as far as the old project, the former project, which I believe is still the current owners, that was their project, because I think you won't be purchasing this unless this deal goes through, correct? It's still the current owners that had the last project.
So we have a purchase and sale agreement, but we have not purchased the property.
Yeah, so I know it came up, and this has nothing to do with you, but for the EDC to come before us today, and obviously I have a lot of respect for all of you on the EDC, the current owners with that prior project, the reason that didn't happen is because, to be blunt, they really got jerked around by a lot of town departments, and there were a lot of issues. They had a project, they weren't asking for a tax break, and there were issues with the pipe that they ended up spending tens of thousands of dollars on, if not hundreds of thousands, I don't remember the final number. That was not their issue that they ended up addressing. They had issues with electric division, and I wish the EDC was there then. And I know some of you are new and you probably weren't on the EDC then, but I wish the EDC was there then. Because we had somebody who was a local business owner, proven local business owner already, gives back to the community. They weren't asking for anything. They were just asking for a fair shake, and they didn't get it. And that's why we're here now. So I hope going forward, and I know Mr. McEnany, I talked to you about this yesterday, I hope going forward we can just look at that and try to encourage development in businesses and with our departments, and we'll all work together, because I don't like how it got here, and again, that's nothing to do with the current project, but I just wanted to kind of touch base on what happened there. I met with, after the last presentation, last time we were here, I met with our tax assessor, and I wanted to get a lot more figures than what we discussed, and he was wonderful. And I have a whole stack of charts and graphs here that he made me. He was great. He didn't state an opinion of the project at all. He just gave me hard numbers. It was a wonderful meeting. Mr. McEnany, you were there. Former Chairman Rome was there. Mr. Crouch was there. It was a great meeting. A lot of info. So one of the things, he gave me some comparisons, but one of the things that came out was the taxes. So I think sometimes we're looking at this as kind of a false choice of it's what's there now, what we're getting now, or this project. But back in, let's see, 2014, we were making $138,000 when it was the nursing home. So, there are other options for this property beyond what this is, where we could be making, more money. Sorry, I'm just looking through my notes here. I guess the bottom line is I am not against the project. I'm not against you making money. I think it's wonderful. I wish you all the best. I think it's a good project. My issue is with the tax break. Whenever we give a tax break to somebody, somebody else has to pay more because it costs X amount to run a town, and if somebody isn't paying their fair share, then somebody else is paying more. And I think a lot of the projects that come before us are asking for tax abatements or tax breaks, and whenever we give it to somebody else is paying more. And that's where my problem is. If I can use an analogy, so if I wanted to open an ice cream shop in town and it costs me $2 to sell an ice cream cone, and I come before the council and I say, I really want to be nice to the people in town, so I'm only going to charge $1 an ice cream cone. But I need the taxpayers to subsidize my business because I'm not going to make enough if I only charge $1. We'd get laughed out of here. But I think that's what's going on here. So if this doesn't make enough money without a tax break, I don't know that my constituents want to chip into that. So I'm not against the project at all. I wish you all the luck in the world and success. But I am. After much thought about this, I'm wholly against any tax break. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Can I just rebut that a little bit?
Yes, you may.
Just for clarification. So I think the major difference there, and I see where you're coming from, is that ice cream shop, they don't have to charge $1. There's no state restrictions or governmental restrictions on what they can charge. These gentlemen, they cannot raise the rents to make more money. They do not have that option. So that's the big difference. I would also say, in order for it to be what I would consider a subsidy, is the property or the project would have to consume more town resources than it takes in tax revenue. So I think that's not trying to be like an obvious argument, but I don't necessarily agree with the classification of it, and And I think the ice cream analogy just doesn't apply here for the reasons that they can't raise rents to make up for increases in costs that are beyond their control, like insurance, building, whatever else the case may be.
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
respond? Well, they could charge what they want if they had market rate. They can't charge what they want because they're trying to do low income and take advantage of the state program.
Also, too, I may have misspoke when I said predictability before. I was speaking from a bank perspective. Like the banks have certain underwriting requirements, and it may span over a certain period of time. If it doesn't pencil out, then they're not going to fund it, and that's what's happening here. So the debt service coverage ratio from the state is lower than what's traditional in commercial. It's not a lot of wiggle room, so basically bottom line, this is what they need in order for the DOH to feel comfortable. So if this doesn't happen, the project pretty much dies. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be very hard to get through.
So I look at it as like we have bird in hand. Like that property's been vacant for a while. It's at my former firm. I mean, it made the rounds. If someone, had a better idea to make money on it, I think they would have done it by. And I agree with your sentiment. I think as a town, we want to be inviting to the business community and let's figure something out to work with. This is a project that works. It delivers affordable housing, which we need. And we can always talk about the what ifs, but this is what we have in front of us now. And I'll shut up.
Very good.
Mr. Chairman, may I just respond one more item?
Go ahead.
Thank you. So as far as the town resources it's bringing in, so I think the last time you were here, you estimated that there may be, because I think it would only be the 2-bedroom apartments, that there could possibly be 8 children potentially. Is that correct? How many 2-bedroom apartments are there?
Yeah, there's 8, I believe, yes.
8. So if we had 8 children living here, I believe the cost per pupil now is $21,000 in Wallingford to educate. So we're already spending more than we're taking in taxes. So just to your point, it potentially will be using more resources than they're paying in taxes. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Rosacci.
Thank you, Chairman. I think the first thing I want to say is we have to decide what problem we're trying to solve as a town. This is a values proposition to me. We need more affordable housing. And when we look at this information, when you're talking about teachers and police officers and dental hygienists, there's many who live in this town, and we need to have housing for them. The fact that you have teachers that have their bachelor's degrees and master's degrees and they can't afford to live in Wallingford, that's something that as a council we should want to do something about. So I wanted to start there. And then also, I just wanted to check my numbers to see if they're accurate. So with the abatement, over the 18 years, about $1.43 million would be paid. Without the abatement, it would be about $1.96 million. So that equates to a little bit. It's around $525,000 over the 18 years, which is about $29,000 per year over the 18 years. That would be, I don't want to call it a tax break because I don't believe it's a tax break. I believe that it's just sort of holding, freezing tax rates. But there would still be a significant amount of money that's coming in, more that's coming in now. And so are those numbers about accurate?
Yes, if you straight lined it. We are subject to mill rate though. So as mill rate goes up, I know you guys, mill rate dropped a lot when the assessed values went up on the homes. So next year when they go up, the taxes would go up because it would be based on the assessed value we have, but using the town mill rate. But on a straight line, those numbers sounded correct.
Okay, yeah, I used about I used 3%. I'm assuming 3% growth.
Yep.
Okay, so so that's really what the numbers are. I think it's important to call that out, exactly what those numbers are. So that's one piece of it. Another piece was, is that pipe, I've heard about this pipe before, and is that pipe fixed? And if it's not, is that going to be part of the plan?
So that pipe is fully fixed. Inland Wetlands has signed off on
Okay.
the project.
And then other piece I wanted to bring up, I'm seeing the Economic Development Department had sent something about the term sheet for this project. And one of the pieces on here related to like default and termination, which is section 8 of that agreement. Is there something that can be added on as far as like responsible contracting policy for the state, you know, for any of the developers or builders or anybody that's working on this, that they will follow the state responsible contracting policy, just so we can make sure everything is in alignment there?
Oh, absolutely. We have to follow the guidelines of CHFA when we're building these buildings. And in addition to that, we provide performance and payment bonds for every project that we do.
Okay, so if that could be language that could actually be added in here, I think that would make at least me feel a little bit better to make sure that all responsible contracting policies are being followed for the state.
That's totally fine with our team.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it for now, for me. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. When you, along those lines, since that was brought up, how would that be incorporated in something we may in fact vote to approve tonight? Or would we, I'm just throwing it out there, right? Mr. Mayor, Mr.
So,
Town Attorney.
if you're taking action tonight, it's just to tell us to go forward and draft an agreement. And we'll be back here with a written agreement for final approval.
Yeah, okay, well, I know there's no rush. Okay. Thank you. Mr. Reynolds.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess, just based on feedback from constituents, we have a need for affordable housing. I know folks in the audience will likely get up and ask and talk about it. This property sat for a long time. I'm sure the neighbors would like to see something better happen to it. I understand Councilor Tata's point regarding, equity and how much money we collect from individuals, families, et cetera, and taking those things into account. I guess some of the questions that I did have, and I did want to echo Councilor Rosacci's, commitment to sort of like the labor language and things. You mentioned that had there not been the additional tax credits and the second mortgage that you'd be able to get as a result, would that be the actual cost of this project, soup to nuts, anyway, if money weren't an object? So in other words, if we're, I think it was like 23 million, right? It's 23,897 is the overall development cost, absent the state money, absent the tax credits that you're saying. So this is about what it would cost. So in other words, my question is, you're not doing this cheaper than you would do it otherwise, is that?
No, sir, probably more expensive in some areas.
Okay.
There's some standards that we have to adhere to that I know market rate developers don't necessarily, just a simple one like kitchen cabinets. They have to be all plywood boxes. They have to be, I forget what the wording is.
High abuse.
Yeah, high abuse. So there's certain areas where you have to go above and beyond what you would even see in a market rate development.
Okay, thank you. Because, I mean, the assumption would be, if it's affordable, then it's affordable. So I thank you for clarifying that. The other question that I had relates to long-term maintenance. So we get like an 18-year freeze on the assessment, right? So that, and just for clarifications, it's not an abatement of taxes per se. Like, you're not paying taxes. We're just going to level set this at $3.3 million. I have a question after that, after this one. But what assurances do we have that the property gets maintained, adequately throughout this? Because this is as Councilor Rivard pointed out, this is sort of like new territory for us. Possibly other people will come forward with similar requests for similar deals and so forth. And so just sort of establishing that, what provisions do we get that this will be maintained, and so that in 18 years it will be transferable, so to speak?
Sure, no problem. I guess there's several things. First is CHFA and DOH. They are going to be overseeing this property. It's part of their, the perm financing is through CHFA. That's your first mortgage. So CHFA and DOH would be made aware and would also enforce that the property be maintained and fixed. Also your tax credit investor. If the tax credit, if something happened, there's violations, the property is not being maintained, the tax credit investor then has the ability to remove that general partner. It's well within their right to do so if there's violations or things happening at the property that are negatively impacting them and their ability to use those tax credits every year. That's the first two. And then in order to set this property up for success, there's a couple of safeguards. There's a very large operating reserve that gets funded in the beginning that we can't really touch. It's around $450,000 that gets funded through the development, gets put in a fund, and it's emergency use. And also there's $400 per unit per year in replacement reserves that is part of your operating budget that cannot be lowered. That is a standard from CHFA. So the idea is that, you know, in 6, 7, 8 years, you've built up enough of those reserves and don't have to touch your quote-unquote operating reserve, but that the property is set up for success to be able to maintain and to continue to keep it in good shape. We also do have maintenance in the operating budget itself, but there's those other safeguards.
Thank you. Sorry, a couple more. So the assessment that the 3.3 million derives from, that's based on what you would assume that this overall property would look like, 66 units, brand new, complete at 4.5 million. Is that how this was arrived at, this assessment?
So let me go back to this slide. I know it's small, I apologize for that.
Is it based on the rents that you're going to get?
It's based on the value approach. So
Okay, got it.
your NOI, and then there's a cap rate. I will note the cap rate here is 9. As cap rates get lower, the value goes up. They allow assessors to go up to 12 or 13% for an affordable deal. So theoretically, the property could be valued way lower than $4.5 million currently.
Okay. Last question. The breakdown that we saw in terms of the 1-bedroom, the 2-bedroom, the studio, and all of that, would that be set in stone, 50, 60% for the duration of the 18 years? I mean, I know we have to draft an agreement, but is that the way that it works?
It's actually set in stone for 40 years.
40 years, got it, okay.
40, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much.
Yeah, again, I think this is something important for our town to move forward with. It's standard. We're not doing anything different than other towns aren't doing. This, as it's been stated, this property has been unused for a while now. I think, excuse me, I think if the invisible hand of the market could have impacted it differently, something else would have happened already. And the old model, the old purpose clearly did not work. It flat out failed. And that building in its current, what it was designed for, is not working. So what are the other options? Demo the entire thing, build a development. It was mentioned earlier, the cost per student is over $20,000. We don't collect that amount of money on the average median home in Wallingford anyway. And in those average median homes, you often have more than one student. It's part of the cost of community. And if we want our community to grow and not become stale, I think that these are important things to do. And then maybe they can afford the $2 ice cream cone because the rent's a little cheaper. I think it's just something that we need to provide more opportunities for our town to not become stale, so that it can bring in more youth, but also not chase out the people that made the town what it is and don't want to move away, and they don't want to move to Florida or the Carolinas because they're crazy enough to deal with this weather. So, and somebody else is going to plow their driveways, and the plows won't block the driveway and make a mess, and they won't be out until 3 o'clock in the morning shoveling and all that. So anyway, that's my personal problem. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening. I just wanted to echo a lot of what has already been said here tonight. I think there's an affordability crisis, obviously, particularly with housing here in town. We are pushing out young people. We are pushing out our retired citizens. So I think it is so important that we focus on this. And I appreciate the EDC's work. I know you've been working hard, and I appreciate that you've been focusing on such an important issue. So I will be in support of this as well, and I appreciate the thoroughness of your presentation and the very good questions we've heard tonight. But yeah, I think the town needs to move forward with this. Thank you.
Okay. I've got a couple of things. First of all, if you're not going to bring me an ice cream, I do not want anyone mentioning ice cream cones again this evening. You talked about, so we see obviously the EDC is on board with this. You negotiated this, presented this to us very well, given us some good stuff to look over. Who else has reviewed and supports this? For example, planning and zoning, has it, the current PE, Plan of Conservation and Development, has it been pointed out by the planner that this addresses some goals and objectives that were established 10 years ago? The administration, you know, anyone else? Can you give me an idea of who else is behind this? You know, supporting it, I should say.
Yeah, and certainly Don Crouch has spent some time in different town departments talking about this project. So we do know that he's met with the town planner. We've had some meetings with the mayor. I don't have a list in front of me of all the different folks that he's met with, but we have brought this to the different town departments and discussed the project with them as well. If anybody else can add to that, if they'd like.
Well, it's important to know that, because they all have their own, you know, areas of concern and control, if you will, or oversight, call it what you wish.
One more thing, Mr. Chairman, if I may. One of the things I think that's come up is that there's not much of a material change from anything that's been approved previously. Maybe the composition of units has changed a little bit as far as type, but many of the things that were already discussed during the approval process remain the same from their perspective.
Mm-hmm. I had a question that, could we conceivably, I'll just add conditions. In other words, and that was already mentioned and brought up and informally agreed upon. So what we're looking at, the sheet you gave us, the front, good stuff. So the developer obligations developer shall complete the project in substantial accordance with plans. Okay, so that's understandable. Comply with all applicable federal, state, and local laws, regulations, and approvals. Now that covers all labor rules and such, right?
Yes.
Okay. The town will just take care of the paperwork. And then it says default and termination. So failure to complete the project, maintain compliance with, I'm assuming with whatever conditions are a part of the agreement, which we could add to, or meet material obligations, maybe some termination of the agreement, reassessment. All right, so clearly if things go in the wrong direction in so many ways, we terminate, reassess at fair value, and start fighting out where we go from here. Okay, so obviously there's going to be a final agreement. So that's what's referenced here. So that would lead me to not my last question, but this question. What are we being asked to do tonight? Are we being asked to have this discussion in this question and answer and then await for a final agreement that we can formally approve?
If the council is interested in supporting this project as the developers requested, then you let us know that, and we will come back with an agreement for final approval.
Right, so
Fully,
there's... So
fully articulated.
It doesn't seem like it'd be appropriate to be formally approving an agreement this evening because it's not drawn up.
What the,
Does that sound right?
well, Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Yeah.
what we were hoping for a vote for was on the two terms of the fixed tax assessment, which would be the $3.3 million value and the 18-year term, which would then allow the town to draft that agreement. So that we were hoping for a vote on those two concepts.
And that's reasonable. I would just make sure that we have some assistance in how to properly word that, hopefully coming from the law department, but, oh, you're still, I'll call you. Give me a second. All right, good. Let me, Don, your letter referenced, I got to do something about that pen. Thanks. I lost the language, but basically it said that this assessment would remain fixed regardless of any improvements that are made, which could increase market value. Now, if that was to mean, you know, keeping it up, adding a deck, putting a pool in the back, I mean, things like that. But is there a possibility that you build another building on that property? I mean, if the improvements to the parcel, which would dramatically increase market value, versus improvements to the parcel in question, the buildings in question. Can we just be clear that that's general improvements that would just...
Yes, sir, that was the intent, and we'd be fine with that being clarified in the agreement.
We good?
We're not going to let them add.
Well, I read that, I just thought to myself, you know, what happens if, you know...
We're not going to let them add another 60 units and have a fixed tax agreement based on what we approved tonight.
I just want to make sure, and the way it's written, it could be anything. It could be 5 more units. You could put a rooftop hotel, a rooftop restaurant. I mean, you know, I think that was it for me. I do want to make this one comment, though. When the discussion came up about something in here that provides for a local preference. I understand fair laws, housing laws are very particular. However, everybody that I've heard, here and outside of here, that talks about the need for affordable housing in town and the benefits of affordable housing in town talk only about people in town. The idea is we want our young people to be able to live here. We want our new hires to be able to live here. We want our seniors to have more options so that they can go somewhere comfortably, and that frees up housing stock for, again, those younger families. Ideally would be the 2-bedroom person who's not ready to leave your unit and go buy that house and the senior moves in. So I'm always very skeptical about local preference conditions on a lot of things. Bid awards, things such as that nature. I want it, I want to see it, but I do understand sometimes it's not reasonable for any number of reasons I may not be considering. But for this project, I'd almost insist, I'm not comfortable if there's not a component, if not a total commitment to giving preference to Wallingford residents and or Wallingford employees. So when we start talking about, think about this as we go into this final agreement, I really would like to see that in there. It's important to me anyway. But if you have a quick response to that, but it's okay, you just
Yeah,
digest it.
Quick response is going to be
Yes.
totally fine with that if it does not violate fair housing. That's
Cool. Okay, Counselor Allenson. Hello.
Thank you, sir. I didn't speak much tonight. I spoke pretty extensively the first time you guys came before us, and I'm in support of this. I don't really think I need to continue to make comment about it. So therefore, I'm going to make a motion that the council recommends that the mayor and the law department draft a contract for the 18-year fixed tax rate agreement for the assessed value of $3.3 million. And with the caveats mentioned before regarding labor and, what was the other?
Well, I think you could probably leave all that stuff out of the language.
So,
Maybe pending a final agreement that takes into account the concerns mentioned by us.
just making a recommendation
I like
that
it, yeah.
the contract move forward with the agreements, with the tax agreements as mentioned in the presentation. So that would be, again, 18-year fixed, $3.3 million, and I think that's all I need to really say.
Yeah, probably.
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Mr. Carmody. All right, well, not yet. So we have a motion on the table. Any discussion on that before I open it up to the public?
Mr. Chairman, if I could ask a question?
Oh, yeah. Before you do, I have not yet had the opportunity to congratulate Mr. Einhorn, Jeffrey Einhorn, and welcome him to our meeting as the newly appointed town attorney. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
He was assistant town attorney?
Thank you for the welcome.
It's town law week, apparently, but we had a nice send-off for Mr. Farrell, and of course, a good remembrance for Mr. Manzares, so you're filling big shoes, and we're so happy that the mayor put you in that position, so welcome.
Thank you for that. Thank you. I know you have a motion pending, but you probably will have to vote on this again when there's a contract before you. So
Yeah,
you
right.
might want to just make that contingent on that other vote.
I think that puts my concerns. I suppose we're going to start talking about things that we might want to see. We'll talk about that in a minute. Anyone else up here? Yes, Councilor Tata.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of clarifying questions. You spoke before about the 18-year term, and then when that expires, that depending on the financial situation at that time, you may need to come back for further tax abatement, or you may want to refinance. So what would happen in the scenario where at the the rents are locked in for 40 years at the affordable rates, but what happens at the 18 years if financially it's not feasible anymore? What would has that happened before with projects like this, and what would happen?
So if it's, the hope is always that it is still feasible. I think in that scenario, there would have to be a conversation with the town, so see what the value is, see what the value approach generates, but obviously you still have to pay your taxes. So, that's best I can answer that question.
Is your anticipation that after the 18 years, you would have enough money saved from the earnings that you would then be able to pay the full taxes? Is that the plan, or no?
No, so the plan would always be to pay full taxes at that point. Obviously, there's going to be a reassessment on the property. Mm-hmm. So you see where you land after that.
Okay.
And then the idea would be, yes, if the taxes really shot up, hopefully you'd have that operating reserve still sitting there, and then you would figure out what to do next. Is it a redevelopment, kind of what the next life cycle is of the project.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
And then my other question, I'm not sure if this is for anyone here, maybe EDC might know. Does this project, because there was the prior approval, does this need to go before planning and zoning again, or inland wetlands or anything, or is this the plan is done?
It's fully approved. It does not have to go back in front of inland wetlands or planning and zoning.
Okay, so the people, all right, so my only concern is that the people in that neighborhood might not have had a chance to voice their opinions on this particular project.
So it is theoretically the same project, it's just who's living there. So the site plan is unchanged. The approval is actually less units than what was approved. We're overparked for the number of units now. It's simply the resident profile that's changed.
Okay, and I'm trying to think through how that might change that neighborhood's feeling. So one of my concerns is that about 2 miles down the road, we have the North Haven Quinnipiac campus. And I'm thinking a lot of those students might want to move in here and might fit those values. So that if something like that were to happen, maybe that neighborhood wouldn't want that. So I don't really like the fact that the neighborhood doesn't have a chance to
I do have some good
consider
news.
this?
You cannot be a full-time student and live in affordable housing.
Oh, okay. All right, so if they were a grad student there and had a job, but you would need to be employed, you cannot be a full-time student,
Can't
correct?
be a full-time student,
Okay,
correct.
all right, great. And I guess as far as the neighborhood having their chance to speak on it, when this contract comes before us again, that could also be their opportunity?
Yes.
Correct, okay. All right, great, thank you so much. Thank you, Mr.
You're
Chairman.
welcome.
Okay, I'll now open it up to the public. Does anyone have any comments, questions, concerns they'd like to put on the record? Mr. Conroy.
Hello, Bruce Conroy, Burke Heights Drive. Thanks for getting to it now. I have a 2-hour drive to Narragansett in a little while. So I'm a member of the Carpenters Union here in town, and I went to school to learn my trade right here. And I think you're absolutely correct. I agree with everyone here. Affordable housing is necessary. I wish we had more of it when I was an apprentice. Maybe I could have, not struggled as much. And I appreciate everything you go through. But it's not what we build. It's not only what we build, it's who builds it. Now, I think it's great. Thank you very much, Councilor Rosaccio, for bringing up the responsible contractor language. But I would like to see the use of apprentices and local people on a job like this. It's a rehab. I'm on the zoning board of appeals, and I approved the variance that they had because I thought it was a great idea. It's a great use for the property, but I'm very concerned about with who builds it and what contractors are used, what subcontractors are used. I know Montagno, we worked with him before. A&A worked for you in the past. So, but I would like to see something done about who builds it and the use of our apprentices. We have 450 apprentices go to school here in this town. And we could have more, but we need more jobs for them. We need someplace for them. So we'd like to open a dialogue with that. We want to see the use of our apprentices or just an apprenticeship program, which I don't believe anybody else has, to build projects like this. If we're gonna give it a tax abatement, then residents and our apprentices and young people should benefit from it. So that's what I'd like to see.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Representative Mashinsky, good evening.
Good evening. Congratulations to all the elected councilors. I'm a member of the Wallingford Works for Housing Coalition, and we've been talking about this project and other projects to enhance affordability in Wallingford for many months. And the current situation is in this area that sales prices went up 47% in only 4 years for homes, and rents went up 24% in only 3 years. And the lack of affordable housing in town makes it very tough for businesses to hire or to keep employees here. The Regional Plan Association, which is a planning group, said that 30% of homeowners and 50% of renters are cost burdened, so they struggle just to pay the rent or the mortgage. So this is 66 units. It's not going to fix our problem, which is we're trying to get to 10% affordable, and we're only at 4%. But it's a big step, and it's something that these guys are willing to do, and it's a start towards meeting our goal. The price increases in housing were most dramatic along the major corridors, 95, 91, and the Hartford line. And when you look at the homeless population, which we also look at in the coalition, half of the homeless group is families with children, and the other half, half of the homeless group is families with children or people over 55. And in Wallingford, that is a big issue. 40 to 50% of the homeless people have a Social Security income of only $1,459 a month, and they can't get a rent in Wallingford. It's, never mind eat, but they can't even get a rent for the amount of money they get in Social Security. And that's why, we have run into testimony from real people that live here that live in their cars, or they live behind a building, or in one case, the guy was 70 years old, he's still working, but he only has enough money to live in a hotel for 2 weeks, and the other 2 weeks he lives in the woods. These are real people in Wallingford. So I obviously favor the project, and members of the coalition also favor the project to allow workers and seniors to stay in Wallingford. And one thing you should do, if it hasn't come up yet tonight, you should be able to stabilize the rents for the term of the tax break. And if that's not in the contract, it should be in the contract. So if you give them the tax break, there should be a flat rent for that unit. And I would ask you to put that in the contract for the duration of the tax break. Thank you very much for your listening to this project proposal. It sounds good. I think it'll move us forward, and I hope you will all vote for it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Joanne Hummel, 60 Deer Run Road. Also the Wallingford Senior Center Social Service Coordinator, and also working for Wallingford Works for Housing. So I'm very passionate about affordable housing. Have been working hard with it for the last 4 years since I received my position and saw the heartache that is here in our town. I've lived here all my life in Wallingford and had no idea what are people who are 60 and over or fixed incomes, retired, who have dedicated their life to their town and who are just living in deplorable environments. The stories that Mary just talked about were people who came through my office, and I shared those stories. So the need is great. I love that we're moving forward with it. I love the idea about helping people who are in Wallingford, having a hopefully first pick and getting it for legal purposes, of course, being able to get first choices. So thank you. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for hearing it. Understanding the value of our people who want to stay in Wallingford. We have people who have lived here all their life and they're saying, I don't want to leave Wallingford. I want to stay here and I can't afford it. Because yes, $1,400, a month is not going to get you a rent, and the majority of the people who come through my office is that or under. Also, this particular 2025, 300 people walked through my office looking for housing. In 2023, 2024, it was 189. So the need is just increasing. All right, so thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your consideration.
Anybody else? Yeah, I'll bring it back to the council. Okay, Counselor Tata?
May we just hear the motion again before voting, please?
Sure.
I make a motion that we recommend the contract moving forward as stipulated in the presentation with an assessed value of $3.3 million for 18 years fixed timing.
That's what it seems
It's,
to be.
I mean, you know, obviously that's pending the contract being presented to us, but you had stipulated that you like that language in it, so I'm happy to move that forward. Yeah.
Thank you.
So 3.3 is the assessed value for tax purposes, correct?
Yes.
And that's what the motion's reflecting?
Correct.
For the 18 years. Okay, thank you.
And for clarification purposes, how would we proceed with adding any conditional language to this? Just forward it to the law department?
I think the mayor and the party will have to have a meeting with the law department to determine exactly what the contract's going to say, and then that would come back on the agenda for you to approve.
Okay. Well, should we share with you, though, the things that we would like to see in there?
I don't see it as a problem. The question is, how many parties do we want to the contract? If everybody is presenting, perhaps one position coming out of the council to the mayor's office?
Oh, I mean, we could work out an agreed upon bullet list.
Yeah, I think
for
that
what
would
it's
be helpful.
worth. Yeah, I don't want 9 counselors sending you language. That's not what I was getting at. I mean, it wouldn't make any sense if we wanted to see some things in there and then you brought up an agreement to us that didn't have it, then we wouldn't be approving it that night. We'd have to be trying to amend it. So that's what I was trying to get at. What would be the smoothest way to get this done? I'll tell you what, I'll make an executive decision. So anything that any counselor would like to see, you go forward to me. I'll share it with everyone and we could look at it and I'll pass it along. No, I don't think I can do that. That would make it a meeting. Never mind. We'll figure it out. Thank you. Okay, if there's no other questions at this moment and an understanding of what it is that's on the table, I'll call for a roll call vote, please.
Allenson?
Yes.
Carmody?
Yes.
Lavin?
Yes.
Rivard?
Yes.
Reynolds?
Yes.
Versace?
Yes?
Tata?
No.
Testa?
Yes. Motion passes, and now it's in the hands of the administration, and we'll figure out a way to get some language in there that might appeal to everybody here. So I do know that Mr. LaRoque is here. He was appointed. Do you think you could swear him in, please? Thank you.
I'd just like to say thank you to the whole council, mayor's
Thank you all
office.
for your
Thank you very
presentation.
much.
I'm sorry I didn't.
Thank you.
Politely.
Thank you.
Sir, thanks. Chris, come on up here. To the,
My apologies to the council for my lateness.
you just have to say I do.
All right, you should want to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to faithfully discharge according to law your duties as alternate of Zoning Board of Appeals of the Town of Wallingford to the best of your ability, so help you God?
I do.
Very good, thank you. That's it, right? Seeing nothing else on the agenda, I will adjourn, and we'll be reopening shortly with our workshop.